What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Talkin Football podcast. This is now episode 17, and we're going to keep on going with our predictions for the NFL season that starts next Thursday. It's really close. We're almost there. Today, we're doing the NFC South, and I'm just going to hit the intro, and we're just going to get right into the predictions. Short and sweet, no reason to hone on to other things because that's what the predictions are for. All right, so let's talk about the NFC South. Not the NFC South, the AFC South. Here's the thing with the AFC South. A couple years ago, they were the laughingstock. This division was terrible. They were not good. Tennessee was mid. They're mid every year, basically. Jacksonville was like okay. Indy was okay, and Houston was not good. Actually, no, Houston was good because they had Watson at that point. And they've kind of been at the lower end of NFL divisions. They just haven't been very good. I mean, you can what divisions are worse at that point? What divisions were worse than the AFC South? You could argue the NFC South, maybe the NFC East. Again, this is at that point. Maybe the AFC West. I don't really know about that. This division has turned upside down. It is a very good division this year, and at least in my opinion, each team is very good, and there's no denying that. And you'll see that with this prediction. The lowest record in this division is 8-9. I have the Titans going 8-9 and being the fourth seed or the fourth ranked team in this division. They're good. I just looked at the rosters a couple minutes before I started, and this is a really good team. Look, they added Calvin Ridley. They had Tyler Boyd. They added Tony Pollard. That's just on offense. And defensively, they've been adding so many players. They added Diggs. They added Jamal Adams. They added L'Jarius Sneed. They added Awuzie. This is a very solid team. They just traded for Ernest Jones. But my one holdup is the quarterback. I'm not a Will Levis believer. I don't believe in Will Levis, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am. I don't see the vision with Will Levis. They need another quarterback, and I don't know if they need a veteran quarterback. I feel like if they had a Jameis Winston guy, they would probably be 9-8 or 10-7. I don't see them being this good, being that good with Will Levis at the quarterback spot. Now, I hadn't started the podcast yet, but when I thought that Will Levis was a bust, and I still think that. I don't see the vision with him, and that's what holds me back from making this team 10-7, 11-6. They're good. They're a very good team. I love the Callahan hire. I would give this team maybe a year or two, figure out that quarterback position, and then we'll have a significantly different conversation with the Titans. Because remember, they are a very, very, very good team. On paper, there's a lot of positives there, and that's what you guys need to remember is that the Titans, they've always been a good team, but now especially that they've added players. They have, like I mentioned, they have Diggs. They added Jamal Adams. They traded for Sneed. They added a lot of really, really, really good players, and that's what you kind of have to remember. But I'm still not really sure about the quarterback spot, which is why I have them at 8-9, in my personal opinion. So Jacksonville have them at 9-8. They lost a lot of good players this offseason, specifically Calvin Ridley, who was their number one guy this past season. So look, I like Jacksonville, and I do see the vision with them, but I feel like when you're in a tough division, to make the playoffs, you need to go 5-1, 6-0, and they're not going to do that. They're going to be around 3-3 in the division. They're probably going to split with everybody. So I don't see them doing anything better than 9-8. They could do better, but I feel like on paper they need a couple more pieces here and there to make that jump. Look, they have Trevor Lawrence. They just extended him to a massive contract, and I think that was the right move there. I like Doug Peterson down there. He kind of fits the vibe that they need. They made Christian Kirk a great receiver. And defensively you have Oludekun. You have Hines Allen now. You have Tyson Campbell just got extended. They added Darnell Savage. There's a lot of good pieces down there, but I feel like they need a little bit more before they can kind of go ahead and make that jump to to double-digit wins and potentially make the playoffs. That's not going to be their year this year. And they were close last year. If you guys remember, they were 8-3. They were tied for the 1 seed, and then they just fell apart completely down the stretch. And obviously, if you guys remember, Houston took over. So I don't think it's going to happen this year. They're going to be like a modest 9-8. And what do I mean by modest 9-8? I mean like they're going to be like 5-4, and they're going to like then end the year like 4-4. Like they're not going to be like 8-1 and end the year 1-7. Like that's not how I view That's not how I view Jacksonville. But they are a good team. Give them a couple years, and they'll be very close to the top of this division. Indy. I'm very high in Indy this year. They are a very good team. And look, with Gardner Minshew, they almost made the playoffs. They were a drop pass away from converting that 4th down against the Texans and maybe leading that drive a little bit farther. This is a good team. I like Shane Steichen. I really do. I like Richardson not fantasy-wise, but I do like Richardson this year to be a little bit better than he was last year. They still have Jonathan Taylor, who I really like. Josh Downs, I'm expecting to have a breakout year. They added A.D. Mitchell, who I love. I love that pick in the 2nd round. It was incredible value there. They have a great offensive line. Remember, they still have Nelson. They still have Ryan Kelly. And then defensively, you have Buckner. I mean, that's it. They have DeForest Buckner, and they have like those other players like Nick Cross, who I really like. I think Nick Cross is a fantastic football player. They really have a good, solid team down there. They have a really good foundation there. I think if I still think they need to add a few pieces before they actually make a deep run, but they are going to, I think, make the playoffs this year, or at least be very, very, very close to. Because again, the AFC is unbelievably competitive this year. Because look, Jets, Bills, Dolphins, and then you have, I would say, definitely Jacksonville, Indy, and Houston. That's 6. And then you have the Chiefs in the West, and then you would have, I think the Steelers are maybe not the Steelers. You don't have the Ravens, the Browns, and the Bengals. That's 10 teams, and you could probably add the Steelers if you wanted to, because Tomlin always finds a way to get close. That's 11 of the 16 teams that could potentially make the playoffs. So it's going to be tough for Indy to make it in, even with double-digit wins, but they will definitely be close, and they have a very good foundation down there with Shane Steichen, who I really, really like. And again, they have good pieces, maybe a couple more years, and they'll definitely be a much better team. This is the obvious winner of the division. Houston has no competition at the top, in my opinion. But I think we should pump the brakes a little bit on like the 13 wins or more. Let's pump the brakes on that, because how many times have we seen a young quarterback bring his team to the playoffs and then have a regression the next year, and like have a slight regression the next year and not be as good as people expected? That's what kind of happened with the Bengals. I mean, not really quite, but it's a very, very similar what happened with the Bengals. Burrow got hurt his rookie year, and then the next year they went to the playoffs, and they went to the Super Bowl, but then they had a slight Super Bowl slump afterwards, and they weren't really as close. And they did go to the AFC Championship, but they were a significantly worse team than what they were when they went to the Super Bowl. And I think everybody saw that. I do kind of see that happening with the Texans a little bit, how they did make the playoffs. They did make a not really a deep run. They were unfortunately matched up with the Chiefs, who obviously went up to win the Super Bowl. I do see the Texans going around 11-6 this year. I think that's a fair prediction. I'm not gonna put a ton of stock into them. And look, I love the Texans this year. That's not me saying that I don't like the Texans this year. I really do. I love the addition of Diggs. I love that they added Danielle Hunter. They added great pieces, but I still think they need to add a few more before I'm ready to say this team's a consistent 13-win team, because they're not there yet. Excuse me, they're not there yet. They're not at that point. So to make that kind of deep run, unfortunately, in my opinion, or to make a good deep regular season run. I do see them playing well in the playoffs, though, because there's nothing more important. Like when it comes down to it, there's nothing more important than playoff experience, and that's why the Chiefs, even though they win 10, 11 games each year or 12 games, they don't go 15-1 or 15-2 and easily win the Super Bowl. They go like 12-5, 11-6 to 13-4, and you're like, oh, I don't know about the Chiefs this year, but they have playoff experience because they made the playoffs so many times since Mahomes got drafted, and That's why they make it far every year, basically. Playoff experience is super important in Houston. They don't have a ton. I mean, their most experienced player in the playoffs is Diggs, and he's only been there a handful of times. I mean, he went there almost every year with Buffalo, but like that doesn't in the thick of things, it doesn't really mean a lot when you're with a really, really young team. I mean, C.J. Stroud has played in 2 playoff games. He's and in college played in 1 college football playoff game, and he lost that one. Tank Dell has technically never played in 1. Nico Collins has played in 2. I'm just trying to think of who else. Daniil Hunter, when he was with Minnesota, he went to the playoffs a couple times, but they think they got eliminated. I think he played 3 games total with the Vikings in the playoffs. So basically, what I'm trying to get at, or maybe it was 4, maybe it was 4 or 5 because he did play on that 2017 team, but that's besides the point. So when your most experienced guys have like 5, 6, 7 playoff games under their belt, and the rest of your team has maybe 1 or 2, or even 0 because they're so young, that's not good. And that's kind of why I'm going to pump the brakes on Houston a little bit this year. But I do like them. I'll be honest. I do like them. I do think they could make a deep playoff run. I think AFC Championship is fair for them as like their ceiling. I don't see them making the Super Bowl this year. They're close, but they're not there yet. So I still think they need a couple more years before we're consistently saying this is a 13, 14 win team because they're not at that point yet. And I still need to see a little bit more from D'Amico Ryans because, look, we've seen so many one-year wonders. And unfortunately, I'm hoping that Brian Daboll isn't that way. But, look, he went 9-7-1 in his first years with the Giants with a terrible team, absolutely terrible team, and he made the playoffs. And the next year, 6-11. Obviously, a bunch of unfortunate injuries happened, but sophomore slumps do happen, and it can happen with guys like D'Amico Ryans. Unfortunately, and I hope it doesn't happen because I do like D'Amico Ryans. I thought that the Texans made a great hire there, and they have a good team, but I would pump the brakes on them a little bit because they're not the best team in the AFC. They're not, simply put. All right, that's where we're going to end the episode of the AFC West. I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment on what you agree with, what you don't. And yeah, that's pretty much it. This is Talking Football, and that's what I got to say about that.